Director of Women and Men Against Child Abuse is Miranda Jordan. She joins us now tonight. Miranda, good evening to you. Thanks for your time. When you hear what Gerhard Ackerman has to say about the crimes that he's been convicted and sentenced for, very much in denial, even, you know, making a case that he's been wrongfully found guilty and wants a retrial. What do you make of that behavior and the statements that he was making after court?
Oh, yes. You know, it is quite horrific, actually, the fact that he has taken absolutely no responsibility or accountability for bringing young boys, trafficking them up from an area to an area in Johannesburg for them to be raped, and some of them to be raped by men who were sexually, you know, who had HIV. The fact that he thinks that this is something that we would accept as society, the fact he has decimated children's lives and has absolutely no feelings of compassion or remorsefulness regarding this is just shows his ruthlessness and shows that he's a real danger to society.
The sentences that have been handed down, 12 life sentences that will run concurrently, when you think about the fact that there is a possibility that somebody like him could well still come out of jail in the next decade or so, what does that make you think about the safety of children in future? Again, anchored on the fact that there is no remorse, there is no willingness to admit that he did what he's been found guilty of.
You know, I think there's two things I'm going to say here. I think we will be prepared for that. We will know that this, you know, he will look after, you know, he should be serving 25 years, probably look at about 19, 20 years, depending on, you know, what the parole board would classify that he has tried to rehabilitate himself, but it's certainly something that we would strongly oppose. The testimonies of the 9 boys, the harrowing testimonies of the 9 boys that spoke about how they were brought up to Johannesburg, how they were raped and then passed on to multiple clients, including one of them being Advocate Paul Kennedy. I think will certainly help a case of keeping him in prison longer. But I think we must focus very much on the excellent sentence, on the outstanding message that Judge Ishmael handed down today with the 12 life sentences. When somebody is sentenced to life, they are really told that they have destroyed and decimated a life, and that this is the only punishment that they deserve. And I think what we will know is that he will be away now for quite a long time. I think the fact of his rehabilitation as a serial sex offender of vulnerable children, this is not a one-off incident that was an opportunistic thing. This was prepared. The children were handed out to a list of men, and the trauma that we had to hear from the expert witnesses of what these boys experienced, I think will hold very strong when we have to look at any sort of application for parole.
What you're raising is such an important issue, Miranda, the fact that as a society there is so much more that we need to do to protect children against offenders, and also that when these offenders have been found guilty, that their sentencing also speaks to the graveness of the crime that they have committed. So in that regard then, today, very much a good day for justice.
Very much a good day for justice. Very much a strong message that you cannot go around trafficking. And by that I mean putting any child in any sort of vehicle that transports them to people that are going to hurt them, to people that are going to exploit them, people that are going to make money from their exploitation, people that are going to rape them, and forever leave them in a broken state. I have to tell you, we think children are so resilient. Children are not so resilient. It is going to take a very, very long time for these boys to recover from the way they were passed around. They were not treated as young children. We just think of a 14-year-old or 15-year-old or 16-year-old boy, and what happened to them is absolutely horrific, merciless, and really deserved the 12 life sentences that Gerhard Ackerman got today. And if Advocate Paul Kennedy had not taken his life, he was accused of 3 counts of rape. He was HIV positive. One of his victims was also then and became very ill, HIV positive. I have no doubt that there were other men also involved in this ring, but certainly these 2 men deserve to have life sentences and to be removed from society.
In terms of what it is, Miranda, that needs to be done to ensure more success in cases of this nature, what do you think are the lessons that can be taken from what has happened with Gerhard Ackerman?
You know, Kathy, I think the very important thing was that this came to the High Court because Ackerman had been accused previously of various other cases of molestation, one of which is currently being heard in the Alexandra Magistrates Court. And somehow, through the help of Advocate Paul Kennedy, sort of remained at a low-level court of the Magistrates Court. And I think when we talk about these kind of serious crimes, we need to see them at the High Court. We need to see that we have the professionals that can handle the complexity of this case, because we had child pornography, we had trafficking in this case, we had ages of consent in this, we had so many multiple legal policies to work with that I think it is necessary for us in this country to start elevating crimes against children to the High Court. And I think it was also lots of monitoring. I have to thank also our team. We hardly missed a day in court. It was understanding, highlighting, and the fact that Mr. Ackerman almost escaped. You know, I literally saw him. I was in a car, followed him after court because he had put on a whole different sort of gear that looks sort of like a religious, sort of more religious, I don't know if I'm trying to enhance himself to the judge. And then he started sort of taking off things and becoming another person as he walked along Commissioner Street in town. And we felt that something very strange was happening. And obviously, you know, he says, you know, that he was moving properties or moving premises or whatever it is. But actually, you know, this case needed a lot of monitoring, a lot of attention, a lot of public pressure, and a fantastic prosecutor. Thank you, Lencia Dube, and thank you, Judge Ishmael. It really is a precedent-setting case on so many levels.
Miranda Jordan is with Women and Men Against Child Abuse.